morning, everybody. Hi, good morning. We've still got people joining, so and we're not quite at the hour, so we'll give it a moment, but welcome. I think we were just saying, I think we've got fewer people than usual registered for this session. I think it's the first week of the summer holidays, so I think there'll be a lot of people watching the recording back rather than attending in person, but welcome to those of you who are here. As I say, we'll just give it a little minute because there's still people coming in. And oops, I've just clicked me instead of admit. That's because you're doing it at the same time. Unusually, we are in an actual room in the same location for once, so this is a rare joy. But there we go. No, I think because it'll take us a couple of minutes to go through housekeeping and things, I think we can maybe kick off, Stephen. If you want to go ahead, I'll just keep letting people in as they come.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so welcome everyone to this month's webinar, which is around checking permissions and also our ongoing EHESS update. So as Imogen just said, I'll do a bit of housekeeping first. So today's session is being recorded and it will be shared with all registrants in a few days' time. So if you would like to share the recording with a colleague who is unable to attend, or you would like to revisit any of the content covered in today's session, you will be able to do so. A copy of the slides and this Q&A will be sent to registrants in the following week. The audio for this session is available by dialing in through your computer speakers or by dialing in via your phone. If you experience poor sound quality at any time through your computer speakers, you may wish to try dialing in by phone instead, and that can be done by dialing in at the by the device settings at the top of your screen in the Teams session. So just click the three dots for the More settings, and then select Device Settings, and then you'll get an area that opens on your right-hand side that will let you do that. So participants will remain muted throughout the session. However, there is a chat area which can be accessed at the top of the screen in Teams, and we've been monitoring that throughout the session. So if you have any questions or comments, please submit those. And of course, we'll be having an open Q&A session at the end. I just said. So I'd like to introduce our presenters today. So there's myself, Stephen Leach. I'm Customer Support Advisor for the CLA. With me is Imogen Wiley, our Senior Product Manager. And we've also got Sarah Bray joining us, who's our Education Development Manager. So to briefly run through the agenda of today. Firstly, we'll be going through what rechecks are, and secondly, what needs to be done. And then we'll also be running through our EHESS updates and any other DCS updates that are currently being taken through. And then, as I said at the end, we'll have a Q&A session. So I'll hand over to Sarah now, who will introduce us and give an overview of what rechecks are.
Thanks very much, Stephen. So as Stephen said, it's time for the annual rechecks, and I think, Stephen, you're going to take us through the process as per the DCS in a little while, but I'm just going to talk a bit firstly about what the rechecks are and why they're needed, and then secondly how you can use check permissions to help that and some hints and tips around that. So thank you. So what are rechecks? Well, as per the license, anything that's not covered or opted in or covered by the license can't be copied. And we do advise you to do at least one check during the year for this. But this is the time of year when most people do it. So just back to a few basics. So all printed books, journals and magazines that are published in the UK and a lot that are published overseas are automatically covered by the license unless an item has been specifically excluded. So a publisher has to exclude something in order for it not to be covered by the license. And then on digital titles, of course, many are covered, but that's generally is on an opt-in basis. So it's a bit different. They have to be actively opted in by the publisher. US is a little bit different. I'll come on to that in the next slide. Now, some items are withdrawn from the CLA license during the academic year. They're generally at title level, but they can be at publisher level or author visual artist level as well. That's fairly unusual. It's generally at title level. And we do, via the DCS, as Stephen will come on to, check for works that have become recently become excluded. I think next slide, please. So hopefully you're all familiar with the check permissions page, and this is going to help with your rechecks process. I think next slide, please. So just a few hints and tips on using check permissions, and of course you can use this anytime during the year, but of course this is the time of year probably when most people will be using it the most. So on the process, we would always advise searching by ISN where possible. That's so that you don't get a long list of different editions and different titles. It just helps with the accuracy and the clarity of the results. And then, of course, you choose HE license from the drop-down list. Some changes have been made, and that's now a lot more obvious. And then press show higher education permissions. A couple of tips: focus on the final results. I would say, and that's due to some of the terminology that's used in the way the results are set out. And one example, well, the biggest example, is titles published by international mandate publishers. So I mentioned about US publications being a bit different. You may already know all this, so apologies if you do. So material that's going to be scanned or digital material that is to be copied from has to be actively opted in by US publishers. So they're different from everybody else. But that's not the case where we have an international mandate agreement with a publisher who has a worldwide network of offices. So, for example, you may have Oxford University Press, who we have an international mandate agreement with. If you know that a publication has been published by OUP New York, and it shows up as being published in the UK, don't worry about it. That's fine. It will be listed as UK. And that's to do with the way that royalties are distributed. If you do see a publication that's a US publication published by an international mandate publisher, you know that it's an international mandate publisher, but it's still listed as the USA. Now that could be an error, or it could be that that work has been specifically excluded. Likewise, if it still shows the UK but it says excluded, they can still be excluded, but it could be an error. So do let us know and we will check it for you. Queries, they can go via Zendesk, which is I believe monitored by Stephen and the two Stephens, or you can contact our permissions mailbox, which is monitored by my colleague Margaret in the main, and we will get back to you. And yes, please do get in touch with us, because it's very useful for us as well to know about, for example, if something is excluded, and perhaps it would benefit the publisher if it wasn't. That's very useful to know. So any sort of query at all, do let us know. I think that's all I've got to say on check permissions, but there will be time for some questions at the end, I believe, if there are any.
Great, thank you, Sarah. Okay.
And just on questions, save them for the end, or you can pop them in the chat along the way as well. Either is fine.
So now we'll cover what needs to be done in the recheck process by yourself. So are due to start from the 1st of August going forward, and we would expect all HEIs to be complete within a week of that time. We will send out official comms later today via our JISC list and the InTouch contact list. But the main thing to keep in mind is that HEIs don't need to do anything to prepare for rechecks, because these are all handled by the CLA. So all material covered under the CLA license is checked. So that includes second extract requests, and anything that's still covered under the license will remain unchanged, and the content links will also remain accessible to students. But anything that is no longer covered with the license will become inaccessible after the rechecks. And that includes anything that's come up as not found, or anything that's been manually overridden but is still not showing up as covered on the check permissions part. And our data team work hard to keep that part up to date. So if you've overridden something that's then shown up as not found, and we have since updated the check permissions, then the link won't break. However, if you've overridden it very close to the recheck date, then the database may not have been updated in time and the link will break. So after the CLA has completed the rechecks, the HEIs will need to go through and review all the requests that are there. You can review the requests with broken links from the dashboard under license, and any requests that are no longer covered under the license will show up under CLA license excluded. You will need to either then source alternative permissions to share that content or remove the request from the DCS altogether. And any requests that are returning a not found result on check permissions will show up under license status unknown. And you will need to confirm the permission status for those requests that are not found. Requests that don't have ISNs will not break as a result of rechecks, but you will still need to check them using the HEI report. And we do recommend that you use the HEI report if you have a large number, say more than 10, a number of requests that you need to check. So I will now briefly go through the process of doing the HEI report. So I have here a test HEI report that was generated earlier, and that's just one from our own database. So that just involves a lot of people from our company who've made requests here, test requests. So what you want to do is use the filter system just to check for any titles that are blank, i.e. the ones that don't have an ISN. So if I go here and just click select all, I go down to the bottom and then control for those only that are blank. So as you'll see here, I have a number of titles that have no ISN attached. So what I'm going to do is just copy all of these using Control A and then copy them and then open up a new sheet, which I'll just call no ISN and paste them in here. And then once I've got these, what I'll do is copy those, I'll select them all again and then put them into a table. And then once I have this, I can make a pivot table to summarize the data. So again, we'll make a new worksheet where this data will go. And now we have this, we can pick and choose the data that we want to view. So if I click off Active Request ID here, that brings up the sum, which of course is Excel's sort of default response. So I just want to go here, click Value Field Settings, and make sure that it's counting rather than summing up all of the request IDs. So there we go, it shows that we have 10. And then from there, you can select how you want to filter them. So how you would normally do that is by publisher. So
Go back up.
sorry, I'll go past it.
There you go.
Yeah, it's just that. So yes, by clicking publisher there, we can see all of them broken down by the publisher. So one thing that's also worth noting is that if you click on the ID, it will take you back to the individual data, and it will just give you the fuller picture of, you know, the course code, the account number, and so forth, just if you need them. And then this works the same way if you're filtering via the license type. So if I just remove the filter here, and then go back and filter again. So if I go to license type, which is here, again, get rid of all these. And then if I search only the ones that are excluded or not found, again, the process is the same. Just copy all these, put them into a new sheet, create a table, and then summarize using a pivot table. And then once again, we'll bring up the request IDs, making sure to have them counting it rather than summarizing it. And then here we can check off And so here we might want to use the requesting lecturer to break them down instead. And then you can also bring this up the table. Yeah. So that's how you'd use the HEI report, just to summarize the data that you're looking for.
Great, thank you. Would you mind sharing the deck again?
Yeah, apologies.
Is it going to go back to the beginning or?
No, I can imagine 4 hours.
Okay, perfect.
And over to you, Imogen.
Lovely, thank you very much. I need to click your
Yeah,
your thing. So I want to just take you through anything that's coming up in the DCS, which at the moment is largely all about EHESS. So is this working? Yes, there we go. Yeah. So we've been talking a lot about EHESS and the interim process. So this is on track to go live on the 1st of August. Last month in the webinar, we went through the intended path and we've been working on development. We're just doing some final checks, final tweaks ahead of go live next week. So what we're going to do today is go through, essentially the same thing, but this time using real screenshots rather than mock-ups. And there have been a couple of things that we've tweaked a little bit as we've gone through the development process. So first, let's recap the key changes. Since the process is much more manual than before, first up, the BL's turnaround time is longer. They used to be able to do it in about 48 hours, that was their SLA. Now they're confident they can turn it around in 4 days and that this will still be achievable even at peak times. Next, cancellation. Previously, certainly in the DCS, we'd recommend that you let the BL know that you wanted to cancel ASAP immediately, ideally, but they would try to do what they could at any point up until you accepted. Now, basically, after 24 hours, it'll be underway, they'll be working on it, and it's just not possible. Finally, in terms of quotes, with the API, the automated version, assuming they were able to fulfill it, this would be instant and you would just get it immediately. Now it's all very manual, so to try to lessen the number of to and fro emails, we're going to have a CAP process. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but essentially, if you remember, the total price that you pay is partly a service charge and partly a copyright fee paid. The service charge is regardless, and the copyright fee paid is if you don't already own the title. What we agreed is that we will now work on a kind of pre-approval process where anything up to a copyright fee of £40 you will accept and they will just supply. Anything above that, they will come back to you and ask you to confirm that you definitely want to go ahead. In other words, you agree to automatically accept a quote that is at or below the cap, and the British Library will just go ahead and fulfil the order without checking with you. And then if it's above that, there'll be a checking process. So the £40 number, the copyright fee is set by the publisher and they can choose basically any price they like. There is also a default price that they can opt into, or if they haven't specified, then that's what it will default to. The default price is currently £30 for a book chapter and £38 for a journal article. So this cap of £40 would cover the default and just a tiny bit more. When I looked back at the past sort of 2 years of EHESS requests, that's would cover about 80% of them. So we think it strikes a good balance between budgetary control for you and practicality. We will obviously monitor this over the first couple of months, and if it seems that we've got the balance wrong, we can agree to adjust this if needed. But that's where it's going to start, is £40. Good. Okay, so let's look at what's happening. So again, you're going to start your orders from oh, what am I doing wrong? I want to click. You're going to start by ordering. There we go. By ordering from the Order from EHESS button within the Content Request section. So this is the same as it ever was. And as usual, if you say that you do not own the content, then it will request a copyright fee paid scan. And if you say that you already own the title, including if you put copyright fee paid, then it will only request the scan and not the copyright. So make sure that you say that you don't own it at this point. The system is going to generate the order and show a summary for you to confirm. Yep, I'll come on to that in a wee second, Stacey. So initially, at this point, what you'll see is just a summary of the order with, you know, what's the title, what is it you're requesting, and it will include, I don't know if you can see my, yes you can, it will include the service that you've requested. So just mainly, if you could double check that this is what you intend. Do you need the copyright fee or do you need just a scan? And then if you think there's an issue, just click cancel, take you back to, and you can amend the details. You can, the ownership button, for example, or if you got the page range a bit out, then you can amend that. Once you're happy, just click place EHESS order. So what that's going to do is send an email to, well, I say us, really, Stephen and Stephen, once he's back from holiday, and behind the scenes, we'll also automatically forward that onto the British Library so they can start work. And from here on, Stephen and Stephen will be liaising with the British Library till your order is complete, whether that be fulfilled or cancelled or cannot be. From your perspective, what will it look like? Well, in the dashboard, you'll see the request under order submitted, and it will now appear in the report section under order submitted. And the CLE admin, so Stephen and Stephen, will update this status here as it progresses, so you'll see how things are getting on. And behind the scenes now, there'll be work to go ahead and process that. So there are three scenarios. We'll walk through each of these. So either they can't fulfill it, or they can and it's within the cap, or they can and it's not within the cap. So let's look at each of these in turn. Oh, again, I'm not clicking there. Oh, no, I'm gone backwards. Oh my goodness. Why am I unable to process a PowerPoint today? Good. Oh no, that's scenario 3. That's rather later than I intended. What happened there? Oh. Right, excuse me, I'm just going to have to, oh my gosh, I've gone right to the very end. How did that happen? Excuse me, I'm going to do this. Scenario 1, cannot fulfill. Good. Back on track. No. Click the screen. Yeah, I do. Okay. So I'm trying out the the Teams present. Well, we're trying out the Teams present within the Teams rather than just share screen. And I have to say, it's not my usual way, and I'm clearly still learning. So forgive me. Good. Scenario 1, cannot fulfill. So if the British Library receive your order, search for it and find actually, no, that's not something they can fulfill, well, they will let us know and they'll just close the order at their end. We'll send you a message to let you know that they can't fulfill and update that in the system. So what does that updating look like? Let's have a quick look. Basically, this is the screen that Stephen and Stephen will have. They've got this current status, which has a drop down, and they'll just change that to unable to fulfill. That then for you will, so it will update in that order where you would normally get the history. That will appear, and it will, appear as not able to fulfill in the report, etc. So that one is fairly straightforward. Scenario 2. British Library can fulfill, but it's more than that £40 price cap. So can they fulfill? Yes. Is it within the price cap? No. So what happens here? They will do two things. They will email us with the price, and then they'll just go ahead and close the order at their side. That leaves you with the decision whether to go ahead or not. So we will contact you with the price. And you'll have the option to accept or to not accept, reject, and just close the order. So if you accept, then we will email the British Library again, and we will essentially be resubmitting the order with the quote that it's been accepted. So they'll start from scratch, and it'll be the same as within the price cap from here on. So essentially, we are resubmitting the order with the new pre-approved price. If you decide actually that's more expensive than you'd like to go ahead with, then you'll just close the order, and we'll get an update from the system itself. So that is scenario 2. What does that look like? Again, you will click cancel order, and that basically just cancels it here. And as a result of that, we will get a message, plus it'll appear here in the EHESS report that the order's been cancelled, and it will disappear from the EHESS dashboard, which I clearly didn't take a screenshot of, but that's fine. And finally, we have scenario, which hopefully will be the majority of them, but the proof will be as we go ahead. So can they fulfill? Yes. Is it within the price cap? Yes. And this is also how we proceed if you've approved a higher cap through the previous scenario. So what happens here? They'll just go ahead and create the scan, and then they'll email it to us along with the final price. So was it Stacey, I think, that this is when you'd get the price. So Stephen will then upload the scan into the system and add the price. We'll see what that looks like in a moment. Then you'll get an alert to say that the scan's available to review, and then we'll pick up from there in a second. So let's go to Stephen uploading the content. So basically the CLA admin, so that is Stephen or Stephen, will add the EHESS document, and then they'll also update the price. So adding the document, they'll click here, and you don't have this button at the moment, but they do. So they'll click add, and then they'll update the price. They'll add here the copyright fee and the service charge, then it'll calculate a total. Please remember this is before VAT, as supplied by the British Library. And then in your view, so this is the view that you see, you'll see the document's been added, and you'll see the final price. In the EHESS section of the dashboard, the extract is now going to appear as awaiting HEI review. And in the report, the price will appear there. Now, you will be given the option to accept it or report a problem. So if you go back into the content request in that source content section at the bottom, you'll see here the order, you'll see that it's been added, probably won't be me, it'll be one of the Stevens, and then you'll see buttons to accept or report a problem. Obviously we would suggest that you preview, just check that the scan is as expected, and then select. So outcome 1 would be yes, happy, going to accept it. So this is hopefully very simple. You are just going to click the accept button, and then you'll see that the source becomes EHESS plus your HEI, and the scan is available to select. Meanwhile, in the view order page, the order's changed to accept, and in the dashboard, it's no longer appearing. So you'll see that we're at 0 in the HEI section there. And on the report, it's turned to accepted, and the time that it was accepted is logged as well. So we've actually managed to get the vast majority of the key information to populate, which is, I think, more than we'd expected last time. Good. Now, on the off chance that it's not what you'd expected, the scan is not what you'd expected when it comes through, you'll be reporting a problem. So, I mean, really it works from your perspective very much as now. So you will click the report a button problem. This will get the usual pop-up, and you'll be asked to select one of the pre-range options, the same ones as now, and give a few details, make whatever notes you'd like to add to sort of explain the issue in more detail. And then this is the different bit that now when you click send, instead of it going directly to the British Library via the API, is going to come through to us, Stephen, who will pick it up in our help desk and Zen desk. So what happens then? So we will email the British Library to let them know that a problem's been raised. They'll have a look at the issue, assess it, and then there'll be basically a conversation with you, with them, with us to figure out what's happening. And ultimately, we're going to reach an agreement in some way, shape or form, same as now. Either they'll create a new scan and we'll be back to uploading it, or they'll say, ooh, actually, yeah, fair enough, I can't fulfill it. And so it can't fulfill, or they'll say, no, that's exactly what you asked for, in which case you'll accept it. Good, so that's how it looks. As I say, we're just in some very final testing, but we are on track to go live for the first next week. Oh, sorry, yep. Said that, good. Yes, right, in terms of communication. So the EHESS page of the CLA website, now my intention was to add a little, can you take that laptop and just put the link in the chat, would you mind? Thank you. So the EHESS page of the CLA website's now been updated. The FAQs have an additional section on the interim process. So that's live now. And then we are updating the EHESS articles in the knowledge base, and we're aiming to have that live certainly before go live. That is, we're still just finalising those, but they'll be there very soon. Good. That is EHESS and all things EHESS. There's one other thing that I want to talk through. Oh, hang on. Can I just? I can't actually see that whole question. Just a second. To report it if there's an issue with PDF. Yes, that is a very good question. There should be. That's one of the tweaks that we're just finalising. Yes, there ought to be the option to accept, download, edit. So if you want to add additional accessibility things, yes, that is something that we're just right now. No, but by the first, I very much hope so. Yes. So. Yeah, even if it's not there by the first, it will be because we have to allow you to make these changes. No, you're reporting an issue, same as now, if it's missing pages or it's entirely the wrong file or that kind of thing. Yeah. Thank you very much. So Stephen's just added the direct link to our FAQs. Good. Okay. Well, so there was one other thing I wanted to mention. I've just lost my notes. There we go. Which is we're also making a change to the way that the journal articles extent limit is calculated. So Sarah talked last time about the new HE license, including the change to the journal extent limit. So that is from the 1st of August in the DCS as well as in the license itself. The license, the extent limit will change from 1 article per journal issue per course to 2. So in the DCS, currently, we're only able to check the extent limits at an ISSN level rather than the specific issue. So what we do is ask you to confirm that you're within the terms of the license. Now, currently, that means that you get a little pop-up asking you to confirm when you're adding the 2nd article from an ISSN. After next week, basically the 2nd article is always going to be okay, so we won't ask you to confirm until you add a 3rd. So it sounds a bit weird, but let's have a look at what it looks like. So now you get this message the first time you add an article from an ISSN, no current extracts, all is well. When you add a 2nd one, currently you get a pop-up and a warning asking you to confirm that it's within the license. From next week, well, the 1st, this will still, it'll inform you that you've used something, and you'll be fine to just go ahead. You won't have to click anything additional. But then if you add any subsequent articles, then it will pop them up, and you'll be asked to confirm. Now, because we only check at the ISSN level, it may well be, I mean, you could see that these ones are from completely different years. This is fine, so you'd be fine to just confirm and click and carry on. But the information will be there for you to verify, like now, just on your third one. Right, so that is all I wanted to say today. We've had a couple of questions already. Sarah, go. Did I get something wrong there?
No, you didn't get anything wrong. I just wanted to point out on the journal extent limits, there's also the yes, you know what I'm going to say, don't you?
I do, but we haven't made any changes in the DCS, so please recap.
Fine.
But in terms of how you process it, it's
okay.
manual.
All right. Is it worth me?
Go ahead.
Yes, so there's also the in addition to copying the 2 articles rather than 1 from a journal issue, you can also copy, if a journal is on one particular subject, you can copy any number of articles from that issue. So if they're on a related subject up to the whole journal issue, but that's within the license, and I'm not sure how we're going to, how the DCS is. We're still working on.
I think essentially you would get this.
You would just that's.
And you'll just confirm, because and if you're not sure if it counts as a related topic, then I think you'd probably pop a message to Sarah and Margaret to confirm, and then once you've done that, you can just click the button.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. Very good point. Right, you've just hand up again. Something else, or was that?
Oh no, I meant to lower my hand. Sorry.
No, all good, all good. Okay, so we have a bit of time if there are any questions you'd like to ask. We've got Sarah for all things license, including rechecks, and then anything DCS related, one of us can should be able to answer. If I've been asking a lot of questions on a lot of topics recently, in terms of where we go next, that is still ongoing work. So if you've been providing answers and responding to surveys, thank you very, very much. There'll be more coming. Please carry on. But for now, we just want to focus on the immediate, and we'll kind of longer term thing, hopefully have more later. So there's no questions coming through yet. If there's anything that you would like to ask, please pop it in. If not, as we say, we'll be in touch. We'll send out comms later today around rechecks. And if any questions come to you later, you are, of course, very welcome to contact us on Zendesk. So I think we'll say going once, going twice. Thank you very, very much for joining us this morning, and we'll see you next month. Bye, everyone.